Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome in, Bears fans, to episode 69 of the House Huddle Podcast. Huddle up! This is a special episode for all of you dirty degenerates out there. I did not think of a player ahead of time, but
okay,
I got somebody.
There are options. I'm going with Henry Melton.
Henry Melton. That's a good name. It's a good, I think, like our generation name.
And the Bears were strong during that time.
Yes.
He had really started to come on, and I think suffered some injuries that kind of derailed potentially where he was headed in his career. I think after Chicago, he ended up in Houston for a little while, and maybe Dallas too.
Maybe.
And played okay, but overall was just a solid player on a good Bears defense, which we now see maybe the Bears defense right now is a little better than we think.
Yeah. Matt Eberflus is a good defensive coordinator. Who knew? He's not a good head coach, but he's a good defensive coordinator. So
yeah, we're talking. This is Tuesday night. So Bears played on Monday night.
Yes.
It was a victory.
It was a victory
Against the
Minnesota
Vikings. First time the Bears have won since 1993 without scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up too, so I'm glad you heard that.
Okay.
The Dave Wanstead era.
Yes, they won that game 6-0.
Was it also the Vikings?
No, I think Falcons. I think I remember hearing Falcons. And then it's the first time this season that any team has won with no touchdowns.
Yeah.
So prior to that, I think 0-28.
That's what I heard as well. Yes.
So all these crazy stats, but the stat that was in my head for a good portion of the game was, could they go back-to-back weeks and be a team that wins the turnover differential by 3, possesses the ball? 40 minutes didn't seem realistic in this one, but they still possessed the ball quite well.
Yeah.
And still lose. They were the only team to ever do it last week to the Lions, and for certain stretches of this game, I thought they could almost do that again.
Yeah. It was looking that way, just the way that they were controlling the clock, how many turnovers they were getting. Yeah, it was.
Well, and then, of course, it kind of segued into, if that were to happen, can you and would you fire Eberflus? And you said this is not like embarrassing back-to-back like Trestman 250 burgers.
Yes.
But to almost be like historically bad and collapsing division game back-to-back into a bye week, maybe. But they ended up – I'm surprised I didn't use this phrase last week because it really applied last week. But what they did last week and what they almost did yesterday was snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yes.
That's a phrase I really love to throw out every once in a while as a Bears fan or a Chicago sports fan. So.
I also just think so. Trestman, I mentioned Trestman. He had back-to-back 50-point losses or led up 50 points or more in back-to-back games. He wasn't fired, right? Got the rest of the season. I don't think they've ever fired any. I know they haven't fired any coaches. I don't think they've even ever fired
for Eberflus assistants.
Yeah, well, the FBI had something to do with that.
Yikes.
And some HR issues. But I don't even think they fired like a coordinator that I can recall in the middle of a season. So it's like outside of those situations, right? So it's like, is anyone going to get fired? This would be the week to do it. You're going into a bye week. We just saw Frank Reich just get fired from the Carolina Panthers unfairly, in my opinion, because the owner, David Tepper, is the one that pushed to get Bryce Young, right? When Reich wanted CJ Stroud. I don't know if it would have translated to Stroud being as good in Carolina as
I never like to
Houston,
do those
right?
mind extrapolations because it's a different situation.
Exactly. This is a 53-man roster, 90-man roster at some points. Like, situations matter. And it's just frustrating to see that Chicago – I don't think Chicago's ever going to do it unless they sell the team.
And I'm not saying it has to happen now, to be honest. But
now it's almost pointless.
Yeah, I wouldn't say now makes a whole lot of sense. But it's funny you mentioned 53-man roster, but I have a funny feeling we're going to spend a good portion of today's episode talking about one particular person on the 53.
You're probably going to say Justin Fields.
Okay.
But there's two things. Well, there's one thing that I want to point out. But I'm excited about
Throwing
it.
away my notes. It was Santos that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Go ahead.
I mean, 48-yard field goal he missed.
Yeah. Made a 55-yarder. Sorry.
Yeah.
Back to Fields.
Well, actually,
Or veer off of Fields.
Veer off of Fields. Well, Fields is going to be a big part of the conversation, right? He just always will be until we know for sure if he's staying or going. But one thing that I'm extremely excited for is the defensive line, which is weird saying this, right? Because they've struggled to get to the quarterback. The pressures just haven't been there until Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat has 2.5 sacks with the Bears. He is half a sack away from being tied for the lead, 1 sack away from leading the team. Yannick Ngakoue has not had a sack, I think, in weeks, who has 3, and he currently leads the team. But Gervon Dexter is looking good.
Really nice.
Playing on the outside and
his penalty
inside.
wasn't for hitting him not on time. It was for driving him
to the ground.
Which,
right. He used his full body. I get it. To be honest, the refs really pissed me off with a lot of stuff. That it felt like they were trying to control.
Was really awkward.
Well, it felt like they were trying to control the game, like make themselves like part of the game. I hate when they do that. You're talking about which, by the way, Kyler Gordon was mic'd up, and the Chicago Bears released that footage today.
Interesting.
And have you seen it?
No.
Okay, so on that play, right, we're talking about the Jalen Johnson interception, right?
Yep.
He's blocking. Powell is that?
No, was it?
Pollard.
Yeah.
Pollard, the receiver. He's
I think.
Yeah,
okay.
He's blocking him, gets him to the outs, like basically out of bounds, and he gets pissed and he like starts swinging at him, and the refs like come over and like break it up. No flags thrown, but what he did is he like jammed up into his face mask, broke the helmet completely broken. Right, so he takes it off, and granted, he is like cheering and he's happy and which he should be. But to have his helmet off, like he goes to put it back on and it's like flopping. So he takes it back off again. And they call the penalty. And he's trying to explain to him. Eberflus, a couple other guys are showing him. Then they cut back and he's talking to the equipment manager. It is completely broken. They had to go get him a new helmet. Right. They couldn't repair it. Like go get him a new helmet. Wouldn't have been able to just come back in the game.
Yeah.
So
Hallis Huddle, you come for a lot of things. We get into the equipment management of the team. This is how deep we go.
Yes.
So if you like what you're hearing, definitely subscribe, like. We have a contest going, and leave comments. Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a little fun. The last 2 episodes have been getting a lot of traction, a lot of comments, and a lot of new people out there. So we really appreciate your support. And I have lead into what we're going to be releasing. Hopefully while I am gone, I'm going to be gone next week. It's a bye week. I'm taking my bye. And it's some in-depth.
You always take week 1 and the bye week.
That's right. It's some in-depth stuff that I haven't seen anywhere else. So that's what we're going to bring to the table here at Hallis Huddle.
So I'm going to let you kind of steer us in a moment. But before we do.
I forgot. We didn't say who we are. I'm Rob Schwarz.
Oh, wow.
Bear Goggles on.
You know us.
And obviously, well, there's the new people out there.
That's
right?
True.
And my good friend and co-host, Justin Onion.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you steer us for the most part, but I do want to just throw this one thing out there. And I kind of texted you and Bob Weiss, who we will have on the show soon.
Yes.
We did confirm that.
We're working out the details.
Working out
3-man show, a 3-way. If this is episode 69.
Yeah, wait a minute. But before the game, I wanted to get it like on the record, at least between the two of you, but now I'm bringing it public to the show.
All right.
That I was saying this is the game that will define that Justin Fields is qualified to be the quarterback that you go with.
Okay.
The situation was just ready for him. It's the team he struggled against earlier and got the injury.
Yep.
They love to blitz more than anyone in the league, and that's one of the things you want to see him develop at is quickly reading what the defense is giving to him, making quick, decisive decisions that produce quality plays. Everything I thought was set up for him to perform very well, show the team that he could be the quarterback that they have for their future. Not saying the same thing that they would go that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And for the game, which just seems to be the common thing we talk about with him, for parts of the game, there were things you could like. Overall, there were things you were very disappointed in, and I can never separate what I'm seeing with him versus what I am assuming is happening with Getsy and with the scheme and with the game plan and everything like that. So I want to come back to that more in depth, or we could go into it now.
I mean, let's
You're
just
the
throw it
captain
out
of the
there.
ship here.
Let's throw it out there right now. We want to talk about the scheme. On here, it looks like we're losing our video, so hopefully it comes back here. Audio seems to be working. The one thing that I want. All right. Hopefully everything is back to normal here. I apologize. This does not normally happen. My kids messed with my Wi-Fi router, and hopefully things are back to normal. So we were talking about Justin Fields and the scheme that Luke Getsy threw out there. I'm going to say at the beginning of the game, I liked what was happening, but that's something we continuously see. That 15 play, like 10, 15 play scripted drive that they always have in the beginning of the game looks really good. But then like things just go downhill. And I agree with the screen passes in the beginning. Like that's a way to attack
a blitzing team.
heavy
Of course,
team.
I like that.
But eventually
do it 50 times.
You have to adjust, right? Like eventually you have to adjust. It was constantly like there was a couple plays where Fields went to go. Well, in fact, one of the plays there was a penalty on Braxton Jones for being downfield, right? An eligible man downfield. They went to go do the screen, and it was completely red. It would have been a pick six had he thrown it.
Yes.
Like, so he rolls out the other way and then ends up having to throw it away. And because he threw it away,
right,
ineligible man downfield. Okay. Well, part of the reason that happened is because it's not that they ran the play like a few times. Like this, thanks to NFL Next Gen Stats, is Justin Fields' passing chart from this game. Okay. So here's what I want to point out. Let's count really quick. Okay. We're going to go with orange because I like orange and it's the Bears color. How many of these were at or behind the line of scrimmage? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I didn't count this one.
Yeah, I thought you were
7,
counting because it's incomplete, maybe.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Maybe
that counts. We're counting it.
17 throws at or behind the line of scrimmage. Now, not all of them were screens. Some were check downs. I want to say out of those 17, 13 of them were screen passes.
I would agree with that. And I'm sorry. Yes, it's a good thing to do against a team that blitzes. It's a good thing to catch them off guard in certain situations. But when you do it to the extent they were doing it, don't you think the DBs are easily reading the keys to know exactly what's happening? There were a few times the outside corner just slipped by his guy knowing where to go.
Yes.
At that point, you have to have a counter to it.
Yes.
Or call different plays. Now, I'm going to come back to something you said. It is a common Luke Getsy thing. I mean, the Bears, as bad as they were last year, 3-14, but were one of the top teams in the league, I want to say with Kansas City, at scoring on their first drive. One of the best in the league. So there's this whole idea that they're good during the script, but then they're not making adjustments throughout the that's where I'm starting to really have trouble, is like it's a blurry line to me. Now, Fields did make some key plays late to allow them to kick the game-winning field goal to win it, particularly the throw to Moore that basically iced it. Minnesota didn't blitz one single time on that final drive.
No.
So they basically did the Bears a favor by not going to their bread and butter, not forcing the issue a bit, and the Bears were able to pull off a victory. But
I was surprised, Brian.
Two of his fumbles, obviously, were late in the game.
Yes.
We've seen late in the game mistakes from Fields throughout his tenure with the Bears. And I said this a couple weeks ago on the show, and here I am saying it again. One of the major questions that polls had to answer this year is Fields the guy we're going to invest in and move forward with next year? I'm not saying in terms of getting him the 5th year and all that, but just mentally, approach to the offseason. Are we going with this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe this, and this is why I think this might not be his team next year. If you can't answer that question emphatically yes, then it's a no. And the reason being is because you are going to have a very, very high pick with Carolina. If that wasn't the case, I think it's a different question altogether. Because they've now have 4 wins. Maybe they'll end up with 6. And if you're picking 9th or 10th, you probably go with Fields, and that's that. But you could have the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick. And he hasn't shown you that he's definitely the guy.
Yeah, it's hard because so they have some behind-the-scenes footage that's out there, too, of Matt Eberflus talking to the team and in the locker room, and Justin Fields talking to the team in the locker room, and Kevin Warren's in there, and Ryan Poles is in there, and they're nodding, to the Matt Eberflus talk. I'll be honest, I don't see how that guy influences or what's the word I'm looking for? Motivates, thank you. Anybody, just the way he gives these talks, and you just see it. Like, guys are just not giving really any expressions outside of Warren and Poles. Then Justin Fields talks, and he doesn't come across to me as like a rah-rah guy either. But his teammates seemed way more behind what he had to say than what Matt Eberflus had to say. And then there's now footage that I saw, and I didn't vet it, so I don't know if it looked like it was from this game. But you see Poles just hugging Justin Fields. Like, I mean, he looked extremely excited for this guy. I know he had the fumbles, but he finally came back. And my whole thing is, I'm okay with whatever they decide to do. If they decide to stick with Justin Fields, I don't think that's the wrong decision necessarily. I know a lot of you guys out there probably disagree. But if you add Marvin Harrison Jr., whether you take him with the first pick, if you're worried someone else might get him, if you can trade down like a couple spots and still land him and give him to Justin Fields, that's fantastic. If you're ready to move on and you want to take a shot with Caleb Williams or Drake May, I understand that philosophy as well. Like, I'm going to understand where they're going no matter what. I don't have a strong sense on it, which I think is kind of where you're going with it, because if you don't feel that strongly about Fields, maybe you do have to just hit that full reset button.
Here's my thing, okay? So I don't think he's done enough to make sure the answer is yes. So there's doubts. You have an opportunity potentially in front of you where you could really shake things up. But I don't see, and this is where it gets really complicated, and I do want to spend some time talking about this. There are so many questions they're going to have to answer that each answer could influence the other question.
Yeah.
So, for instance, the elephant in the room, should Eberflus be back? Will Eberflus be back? Because if you're going to a new coaching staff, but you're saying to that coaching staff, we're going with Fields, but we're only 70% sure we're going with him. What does that say? Or are you saying to them, we're 100% behind Fields? Is that still a job people are coming for? I know they'll find someone to take the job, no doubt about it.
Of course they will.
But we keep going back to, if you bring in an offensive coach, they would want to know that they had say in getting the quarterback they want. Is that a fair thing to expect?
I think that's what you do. I think if you're moving on from Matt Eberflus and you bring in a head coach, whether it's Jim Harbaugh, whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it's Waldron from Seattle, whether it's I'm blanking on the guy's name, but the guy from Houston. If you're going to bring in somebody, I don't think it needs to be, because you don't need to decide right away. You have till May to make the decision on the 5th-year option. You bring them in, you interview them, and part of the interview is, what would you do in the situation? Do you want to move forward with Justin Fields? Do you want to bring one of the other guys in? And I feel like Poles also has to have a decision made in his mind, but he obviously has to take the influence from the coach. I'm okay with it either way. And if that coach says, hey, no, I think I can win with Justin Fields, let's go get some playmakers, let's go get some other blue chip talent to put around him. This team is trending upward. Let's go get it. If that coach says, no, I've seen enough of Justin Fields to know he doesn't have that clutch gene. He hasn't shown enough in the fourth quarter, which again, for him to change the narrative, he did what he had to do.
Right.
He changed the narrative by winning that game. Now it's a matter of fact, he has to stack that.
Right.
And he's got 5 games left to do.
5 games left, and they're not world beaters.
No.
You got Packers, you got Lions, you got Cleveland, Cardinals, Atlanta.
Yeah.
If they win 3 of those, 2 of those even, to get to 6 wins, this is what we said before. 6 could happen. This is why I'm saying these questions are all stacked messily together.
Very messily.
What if he says, I want to keep Eberflus, I want to keep Getsy, I'm keeping the coaching staff, but we're not sold on Fields? Should they be trusted to take on a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, whoever?
No, not at all.
So these are very tricky questions because you just went perfectly down the path of what you do if you're bringing in new coaches.
If you're keeping Eberflus and Getsy, Fields has to be your quarterback.
I agree. But where have you progressed other than hopefully bringing in absolute top talent where we say we're on the no excuses tour, which if you roll back the tapes, we thought we were on it this year.
Yes.
And now we just have excuses and excuses and
I'm
excuses.
not excusing him.
No, I know, but we're running out of time to make this decision.
But he still has shown growth. I mean,
Agreed.
he has shown growth. It's just not enough compounded quickly as we would like.
Last point. Take the North and never give it back. Those words are echoing in people's ears because Poles famously said it. And you and I on this show have taken the approach. That doesn't mean he meant take it right away and never give it back. It's a process.
Yes.
But when I look at if Fields is your guy, you're making the decision on him now and then quickly making the decision long-term 1 year later, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with teams that build around a rookie quarterback is you get to put all the pieces you want around this guy until he gets the big money deal. And now you start not being able to re-sign your guys. You start to lose or trade away your Tyreek Hills, your Richard Shermans, and if their idea is take the North and never give it back, and you have all this draft capital, you have all this, you think you've built something, including with Fields, but you take Fields off, you're still building things with adding a guy like Sweat, some of the recent draft picks they've made. You bring in a rookie, you now have all that freedom to continue to build a solid roster, including the draft capital this year. It does seem like it sets up better if you have the long-term view, which is what I hope Poles would have. And I assume he has it's a bad assumption because we know Kevin Warren's kind of new to the gig.
Yeah.
But typically GMs on the Bears get enough time that he'd get to see out a good portion of that rookie's deal, at least probably 2-3 years of that deal. And by then, shouldn't you be a competitor?
For anyone who thinks Ryan Poles is gone, I'm sorry to break it to you. Every sign says that he's not. If Kevin Warren was literally going to fire Ryan Poles at the end of the season, Montez Sweat would not be here right now. Andrew Billings would not have an extension. Cole Kmet probably wouldn't even have an extension, even though that got done relatively early. You're not giving your GM the power to make those trade deadline type of moves.
And also thinking about dropping him at the year's end.
Exactly. So Ryan Poles is going to be here. I put Matt Eberflus out the door at a 75% shot. So 25% chance.
I almost went 80.
25% chance he's here next year. I can't see it. But to your point, if they won the Denver game that they should have won, and if they held off Detroit, which again they should have, even if they just split one of those, now you're 5-7 or you're 6-6.
Exactly.
You could have been a 10-win team.
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable.
Are you guys, I don't know if anyone watches What If on the Disney Plus channel, but it's a Marvel show, but it's that's kind of what we're playing here with the Chicago Bears. I have a really important thing I want to talk about.
Okay.
Khalil Herbert.
Oh boy.
Roshan Johnson has taken over that backfield from Khalil Herbert. I'm not saying he's going to take it over from Foreman. If Foreman is healthy and he comes back, it'll probably be a split. I don't know if it's just that Khalil Herbert's not fully healthy, but there's no burst. 74% of the carries went to Roshan Johnson, of the snaps. 52 actual snaps, 74%. I want to say touches, it was like 16-6 in Roshan's favor. And Roshan looked like the better option.
Good. He looks explosive. He finishes his runs. He catches out of the backfield.
Let me throw this at you real quick. Let's say they do decide to keep Matt Eberflus. He's shown that he can run the defense. He hasn't lost the locker room per se.
Doesn't seem like it. They celebrate every single victory like it's the Super Bowl.
Right. I heard DJ
4 wins.
Moore.
They got silly string. They're doing dances.
I heard DJ Moore today talking, and he seems like, he doesn't seem like he's out on Eberflus. But is it possible that they just move on from Luke Getsy and keep Eberflus?
Interesting.
Because here's my problem with Getsy, and I'm going to just rewind it back really quick because I know we're going to make this episode a little bit shorter. The situational mindset that he has to not adjust when things aren't going his way anymore floors me. We talked about it in our text group. There was a play. It was a 3rd down. I don't have my notes in front of me. I want to say it was a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7. DJ Moore runs a little curl route to the sticks. Had he even caught it, it would have been short because the DB was right there. He ended up tipping it, stopping it, right?
They brought like 7 or 8 on that play,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Cole Kmet runs from the inside, right? He's the inside tight end. Runs out. Looks like maybe like a corner or a drag. I can't remember. He takes the only linebacker that's in the middle of the field.
Who wasn't blitzing.
Out of the play. Right. Everyone else was coming. He takes him out of the play. And I will say this could be a Justin Fields issue, though, too. Does Justin Fields have the ability to call a hot route for DJ Moore in that situation, knowing that he can see, look, everyone's coming. We all saw it. Mm-hmm. We knew everyone was coming. To change that play to something that goes across the middle following
the clear out,
because the DBs were playing so far back, too. They were playing at the sticks. Get it to Moore. Yeah, you're only getting it to him with 4-5 yards.
He's the yard after catch
master. He's got the yak, right? He has the ability to make one person miss and get that first down. Those are the things that I'm not seeing. Penalties. Penalties.
I never know who to blame those on, but
it just to me that sloppy. Just seems like a poorly coached team. Now, I'll say going into this game, the defense was the least penalized team in the NFL, if I recall, when I was looking at my notes.
Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, maybe specifically the defense.
The defense.
Okay. I was going to say.
But the offense was NFL, like third lead the NFL most. And total, they are the top, right?
Okay.
But majority, and granted that this game, the script kind of flipped a little bit because the defense did have quite a few penalties. But if I recall, someone fact check me on this. If I recall, I don't know if you can go back on the sheets to see where, like, by week. Last week, because I tweeted this. In fact, I can just check my Twitter account. That they were either the least or second least team on defense for penalties. But the offense was completely opposite. So is that a Luke Getsy coaching issue? Or a Chris Morgan coaching issue if it's the offensive line?
Yeah.
Like, how much is Eberflus even involved with the offense, right? Like,
all of that. One more quick point. Jalen Johnson.
Pay the man.
He's worth the money. He's the number one corner. But back-to-back games, he's dropped pick sixes.
Get him a jugs machine, but pay the man.
Pay him enough that he could buy a jugs machine because he's got the coverage skills. He comes not afraid to come up and hit.
The one that he dropped
he gets away with pass interference.
The one that he dropped was easier to catch than the one that he caught.
In live, the first angle, I thought, maybe Hawkinson came back and kind of played good defense. No. He just dropped it. But
I think he just gets too excited.
Overall played well. But again, this game came down to the kicking with 10 seconds left in the game to go up and win 12-9 or 12-10. I'm sorry. A pick six would have changed that whole projection. And in the Detroit game, when it happened, it was the difference between going up, I think 17-0.
Yeah.
And
but now we're going back to the Lovie Smith days where we need the defense to score because the offense can't. Like, I don't want those. No, not in this day and age.
Not this modern NFL.
So another thing, though, and I don't know, this has to be a Matt Eberflus issue that I do have. They missed the field goal. They get down to what? They're in the red zone inside the 10. By the way, the second down play is absolutely garbage. They run a play where they go to the left. There's nothing there. I'm sorry, it's a fake to the left. Justin Fields rolls out to the right. He ends up throwing it away. Darnell Mooney was the protection? Why? If you're going to use a receiver, at least use ESB, right? At least use
Mooney's not doing anything else.
St. Brown. Like
Mooney's not. I just found where I was in the notes. And that's
it was
the first
awful.
Thing I said. Roll out with Mooney in protection.
It was awful. And then the next play was a little throw out to the flat for Roschon. I thought it was a good play. Minnesota played it well. Stopped him. But why? You're a 3-8 team. Why are you not going for it there on fourth down?
Agreed. But for that play, the 3rd and 4, I said kind of a fancy, cute call. If it would have worked, I would have liked it.
Yes.
But it seems like it would have been DJ Moore time.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I don't know. So you did spark something in me when you said, is there a possibility of Eberflus staying and Getsy goes?
Yeah.
And you bring in an offensive coordinator. Now, again, in that scenario, you're thinking that means they're sticking with Fields. They're sticking with the continuity route?
Correct. I'm just saying it's an option.
Okay. Interesting.
That's the thing, though. Like you said, this is very messy. There are so many scenarios, so many hypotheticals. Maybe that's a podcast episode we do. Maybe that we incorporate Bob somehow into that. We talk about coaches.
I love it.
Right?
I love it. Yeah, time to wrap it up. But came into the game thinking this was the one that would answer it all, and now it's 5 games left, and there's still just as many questions.
Yep.
So, although the Bears pick getting a little worse. What are they now? 7th?
with Carolina losing
first,
I want to say I saw the percentage is 57% chance that they get the first pick in the draft. To me, it's got to be like 90%. And I'm like throwing that out there. Like, that's not how you do
Carolina's
math.
Odds.
That Carolina's got to have a top 3 pick. Right?
Oh, yeah. It's
just
really
the
high.
way that it is going to work.
But I haven't looked at schedules and stuff.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Without looking at like all that. But like, they're almost guaranteed a top 3 pick.
Which means Marvin Harrison Jr. most likely is a possibility.
Right.
Okay.
Unless it's Carolina or the Cardinals and they stick with Kyler Murray. And
okay. Well, we got plenty of content for the future.
Oh, off-season is going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. Fun times here on the Hallis Huddle. We thank you for your support. Keep on liking, listening, subscribing, and, of course, commenting.
All right. Bear down.
Bear down.